Okay. Jesus, take the wheel. Mike's hot, camera's on, we're live. NFL's first week has come and it's still here because we have Monday Night Football tonight, so we still have to sit back and reserve some of our commentary before we go all in on who's the best team in football right now and all these overreactions. So it was crazy matchups. There was some crazy weather. I feel like we need to bring Drip Report and Jim Jones here to give us updates on what the weather could potentially be. So look, guys, I already saw the chat popping because we were supposed to start our show at 11 o'clock, but we couldn't because, full transparency, we didn't pay our Zoom bill. We were supposed to pay $200 so our Zoom could be here. So we still got to get some things in order. That's on me. See, this is the special thing about sports, right? When you're in it and it's every day highly competitive, the leader got to stand up and say, that's on me. So for us starting our Zoom late, it's on me because I didn't pay the bill, all right? So we're here, and I got some disappointing news to deliver. Very disappointing news. We got House of Athlete in our studio, and in our studio is filled with New York Giants football fans. You got Bianca Diaz. You got Mr. Andrew Who. You got BC in the booth. I walk in the facility, I walk into the studio, and they're sitting here just sobbing. Like, what's going on, guys? It's just week one. It's like I walked into a morgue. And then also the sad news is, y'all girl, Ashley Nicole Moss, will not be joining us today because Ashley Nicole Moss, as we know, is also a big-time superstar. And she's in New York for Fashion Week, and she had these plans for the past couple of weeks. So the biggest Monday of the year, the Monday after we kick off week one, our girl, Ashley Nicole Moss, is not here to celebrate her Dallas Cowboys victory. And oh, it was a victory, 40-0, a 40-piece up against a goose egg. But we do have someone that's here coming back that's going to give us so much insight and so much commentary and also some opportunities to make some money, next week and also for the game tonight. Liv from Colorado. Liv, people love you when you were here. Welcome back, Liv. How are you doing?
Listen, I probably would have been a little better with a Broncos dub, but you know what? We'll save that conversation for a little later in the show. But I'm happy to be here. Love what you guys do on this show. So I'm ready to talk some football. Football is back, baby. And I'm excited.
So if you're ready to talk football, why is your studio filled with all this Denver Nuggets stuff? It's football season.
That's the only flex I have right now. So I'm just going to keep rocking with it.
Oh, my goodness. Liv. All right, so let's dive in. Liv, since you've been here and everyone loved you, shout out to the Paper Chasers for being patient with us. I had to pay the Zoom bill. And also shout out to the Paper Chasers because we're trying a new hour, 11 o'clock, not 12 o'clock. So we love you guys, and we can't wait to have this conversation with you today. So, Liv, we're going to dive into news of the day. And I want to start with New York, right? Like, while we were sitting here waiting for our Zoom to be updated, the chat was popping. It was already going. And everybody was just talking about the Dallas Cowboys. And I got to say, Liv, it's a great place to start because it truly is America's team. Now that I'm on the other side of it and I'm starting to, embrace the game as from a different perspective as a fan, and being in different rooms. Like last night, I was traveling back from Chicago. I went to the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers game. I was traveling back, so I'm in the airport, and everybody's huddled around these TVs. And every time the Cowboys did something, the entire terminal started to cheer. This is the first time I was able to really see this. Like, if I'm playing against the Dallas Cowboys, you expect to see their fans. You expect to hear from their fans. But now on a Sunday, I'm traveling through an airport watching Sunday Night Football, and I hear the whole terminal The whole terminal, Liv, cheering for him. They truly are America's team.
Cowboys.
Right. So, Liv, my question for you is, what the hell happened in New York? All right. Dak Prescott hasn't – I mean, I think he lost one game to the Giants since his rookie year. Like, I mean, he just totally owns the Giants. What happened, Liv?
I don't know. It was brutal. I mean, it was a tough watch. So tough I stopped watching. I think in the third quarter. This is like no team has ever I think we could actually call this the worst loss ever, because no team has ever lost 40-0 or worse. No team has ever lost the sack battle 7-0 or worse. No team has lost the turnover battle 3-0 or worse. Had a blocked field goal returned for a touchdown, threw a pick six, all in the same season, and the Giants did that in the same game. I think we could genuinely call this the worst loss in NFL history.
Wow.
And it was a divisional matchup that I think most people expected to be highly competitive based on what the Giants were able to do shockingly last season, but brutal. It was the worst loss ever. And I have lost all faith in their $160 million quarterback, Danny Pennies. I'm not calling him Danny Dimes anymore. He's lost that privilege.
You know what, Liv? There's so much to talk about when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. And trust me, Paper Chasers, this show is filled with a lot of Dallas Cowboys topics, so we will dive deeper into so many different angles. Are they the best team in football? What the hell happened to the Giants? We'll talk about Dak Prescott. Is enough? Does he have any more excuses? But Liv, you talked about Danny Dimes. You just brought him up. I was sitting there watching the game last night, and I'm looking at this like, man, if I'm Saquon Barkley, I'm pissed off. Like, this is the guy that y'all went out there. Okay, and it's still week one, and I'm not overreacting. There's a lot of people overreacting. But you go out there and you pay that man. And this is a guy that just a year ago you're saying we're going to move on from. And just when you signed him, there was a lot of people out there that were saying, like, what are they doing? But you paid him. But then the guy that really led the way and made up of damn near half of your offense, you made him wait, and you didn't pay him. Right? You tagged him. And so that was brutal. If I'm Saquon Barkley, man, I may be rethinking, like, should I be showing up? I may be rethinking, like, this whole situation, because that was bad. Danny Dimes, Liv, I would say this. I think that's a bold statement that, it's the worst loss that we've ever seen in the NFL, but I can understand how you said that. The thing for me, the reason why I'm tough on Danny Dimes is because you couldn't you couldn't put together one drive. Just one?
Not one.
Dak was able to do it a couple of times. And this game wasn't about offense. This game was about special teams. This game was about situational football. This game was about defense turning the ball over. Who was going to protect the ball? That's what the game was for me, Liv. But there's more to talk about here. Liv, I was in Chicago.
Yeah. And
I went back to the Bears game. And I was super excited. I think you were super excited to watch this game as well, because you were high on Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. I will say this was the first time I've ever seen Justin Fields up close and personal. The dude is a magician. The dude is really like that, okay? Now, when you look at the numbers and you look at how they played the game, it's like he didn't throw more than 3 times past 10 yards. I think he had like 37 attempts or something like that, or 35 attempts, and only 3 went past the sticks. That's a problem. But he has playmakers. Where was Chase Claypool? What happened to all the stuff we saw in camp with the big bombs and going deep? We didn't see that. But him, I thought he played a really good game. All right. I thought he didn't have help from his offensive coordinator, and that's where this problem starts. But I was disappointed because the Chicago Bears fell to the Green Bay Packers without Aaron Rodgers leading the way. Aaron Rodgers been leading the way for 15, 16 years.
Yep.
And so now everybody in the division saying, oh, this is our moment. The Chicago Bears was high. Before we jump into it, Liv, I want to show you this video because this is Justin Fields before the game. All right. Let's take a look at this video if we have it. No, we don't have the video. Okay, so it was a video.
Here we go. Say, bro, like, driving here this morning, I started getting chills in the whip. Because I know what the computer they are. They don't know what the we on. They don't know how hard we work. They not built like us, bro. From the first place to the last, bro. Effort. You feel me? First week, game 1, they gonna come out hitting. But I promise you, they not going to hit as long as we are. From the first play to the last play of the game. Give it your all. Be present in every play. Let's be great today, man. Play for each other. Here we go. Win on three. 1, 2, 3. Man.
So, Liv, the reason why I wanted to show that is because it's a real contrast, right? You know, before and after. You know, that was him before. Super excited. You know, they don't think that we're going to be ready, blah, 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 blah. Then afterwards, he apologized to his teammates and also the fans. So that's a big difference within a 3-hour, 4-hour span, Liv. So when you were watching this, why were you so disappointed?
I mean, I think I was disappointed because I set the bar really high for the Bears this season because I felt like what the Chicago Bears were doing in the offseason was investing in an offense around Justin Fields. They were catering to Justin Fields. They were, you know, improving the offensive line. He was still sacked 4 times. They were giving him a wide receiver 1 caliber in DJ Moore. He had a very quiet debut with the Bears. So I was disappointed because I think that they added to make Justin Fields' job easier, and his job looked harder. His job looked way harder in game 1 than it should have been. And I think that he is the type of player that can dominate at any given moment. He can single-handedly, you know, change the momentum of the game, but I think he's probably sick of doing it alone. And I would be too. I'd be frustrated. So right. I do love and respect that he's taking ownership and saying, hey guys, you know, it's on me, apologizing to his teammates. But this to me is not just a Justin Fields issue at all. It's really not. This is bigger than that. So yeah, I don't know. Disappointed, but I'm not giving up on Justin Fields just yet. I'm really not. I think he is a phenomenal talent, and I think we'll continue to see that.
We can't give up on him, Liv. And like I said, I was there at the game. I didn't know it was alumni weekend, right? So I flew into town, you know, literally last minute. I took off Saturday afternoon, landed in O'Hara at 6:30. All right, went to Tao, got some nice food, couple great dishes, and then the next day I was headed to the stadium, and everybody was like, Brandon, do you want to come on the field? You know, we have over 100 of our alum here. And I said, whoa, okay, I'll go down there. And so right around like 5 minutes, the 10-minute mark in the third quarter, I'm sitting in the tunnel. So I'm on the field, Liv, watching this dude. There was so many plays where, you know, he had pressure in their pocket and he spins out. So many opportunities where they could have took him down, and he stepped up in the pocket, then took off to the right or took off to the left. The dude was special. And I'm sitting here watching this, and this, you know, look, we'll get into overreactions here soon, Liv. But I'm like, there's Cam Newton, there's Michael Vick, there's Cunningham, Lamar Jackson is active. Like he may be one of the best dual threats that we've ever seen. Right? Or the best. That's what, like, the best. Like, what he was doing, oh, my goodness. Unbelievable.
Well, I think the concern for a Justin Fields is the passing game. I think a lot of people love to knock these quarterbacks that know how to run, and they've got phenomenal run game. We've seen the conversation a million times with Lamar Jackson. I think that's why the game was so disappointing, is I was expecting such improvement in the passing offense that the offensive coordinator would lead, and, you know, the offensive line gives him more, you know, time in the pocket, and he's got a wide receiver 1 caliber player. I was anticipating an improvement in the passing game, which again doesn't necessarily fall directly on Justin Fields, but, you know, I think that he is capable of being the best dual threat. I don't think he's there yet, though. I think I need to see more improvement from
the offensive coordinator.
The offensive coordinator and calling games that are a little more pass heavy before I crown him as the best dual threat. I don't think I'm there yet. However, I mean, you're talking dual threat, Jalen Hurts. I don't think you can crown Justin Fields over Jalen Hurts.
Oh, did you watch the game yesterday?
I did, but Brandon, we're not overreacting. You just said so.
I'm not overreacting, Liv.
Pump the brakes.
The Patriots?
I know. I'm gonna tell you that there was some disappointment from the Eagles, and rightfully so. I think that obviously head coach Nick Sirianni expressed that not playing the quarterback and some of the offensive starters in the preseason resulted in a sluggish week 1 performance. I think we saw that from a lot of teams, actually. Maybe not Kenny Pickett, who bamboozled the absolute hell out of me with his preseason performance, so much so that I may or may not have bet Steelers money line, but we'll get into that in a second. However, they were disappointed, and rightfully so. I don't even think it was just the game itself that's making this Eagles team go, ooh, okay. You have to remember, they started their season last year 8-0. They were running through teams. It was a breeze. It was comfortable for them. Not only was this game uncomfortable for them, but they're looking around going, we just watched the 49ers dominate one of our toughest competitors in the NFC, and the Cowboys.
Right.
Just absolutely dominated. Maybe one of the largest dominating performances that we've seen in a minute. So
well,
not only are they...
Don't say that. You said, no, Liv. No, I'm not going to let you off the hook. You said this was the worst loss in the history of the NFL.
Okay, so it's the most dominant win in the history of the NFL then. How about that? But either way, I think the Eagles are going, they're bringing back most of their roster that made it to the Super Bowl, and they're expecting, to come off of an 8-0 start where you're just kind of cruising through these teams, and then to have a Mac Jones putting up how many yards? 316, outperforming Jalen Hurts. I mean, the competition's getting tougher. And I think they're realizing this season may not be as comfortable as it was last season.
Well, we got to remember this, right? And this is one of those stats that goes around. Everybody talks about it, but it's been 24 years, I want to say, 22, 24 years since we've seen someone in the NFC East win a division back-to-back. And this is probably why Coach Nick Sirianni expressed, those feelings as far as like reevaluating next year. How the hell are you thinking about next year already? The Philadelphia Eagles coach Nick Sirianni expressed regret over not playing quarterback Jalen Hurts and the offensive starters during the preseason following a sluggish offensive performance in a narrow 25-20 win over the New England Patriots, not the Tom Brady Patriots, but the Mac Jones Patriots, right? And Liv said it. She gave him the notes. Like the stats, Mac Jones went crazy. They should have won the damn game. And so here's what he said. I'll definitely reevaluate some of the preseason stuff next year. Why are we talking about next year already, Coach?
Figure it out right now, buddy.
Right? He's panicking, Liv. He said
he is panicking.
But see, it shows. He said maybe I should have played Hurts a series or two this preseason. I already wrote that in my notes. I guess that's forward thinking, and you got to think this way as a coach or a leader. You got to worry about the here and now. But Liv, this shows you, the expectations surrounding this team. Like this team isn't here just to make the playoffs. This team isn't here just to even make it to the Super Bowl. Their expectations and the standard for them that they set is to win the Super Bowl. So when you go out there against the New England Patriots, now you can't overlook them because it's Bill Belichick. But when you go out there against this team that's been struggling since Tom Brady's departure, and you play that way, there's a little concern. You got to go and watch film.
Well, and you know what? I think what happened is they went into the preseason feeling a little too comfortable, which is crazy to me because you lost the Super Bowl. You should be the most uncomfortable team in the NFL right now. You get that close, you're sniffing the championship trophy. It's within arm's reach, and you go into the preseason and you don't play any of your starters. To me, that reads you're comfortable with what you've got and you're ready to go. You're ready to jump in week one, head first, and start dominating again. To me, that should be the most uncomfortable team in the entire league right now. Because guess what? It's great to make it to the top. Ask my TCU Horned Frogs. That fall from the top, man, woo, it hurts. It hurts. And there should not be a more... Are you about to roast my frogs? I can't handle it.
Yeah. Hold on. Time out. Just so everybody understands and we're clear here. I asked Liv before the show started. I'm like, Liv, because Liv's in Denver. Everybody lives in Denver. I always give her crap. Like, why are you still in Denver? All right. I love Denver. Denver changed my life. But why are you still in Denver, Liv? New York. Have you thought about New York? Have you thought about L.A.? What about Miami? Atlanta, Dallas, Houston. Some interesting cities for you, Liv. But
Denver's interesting.
It is interesting. It's the healthiest city in the U.S.
Yeah, come on now.
Outdoors, everything. But I'm like, hey, have you made it up to Boulder to see Dion? Not even thinking, not even remember that Dion whooped your team.
Don't let him fool you. He knew what he was doing. He put salt in my wound to start my morning. That's what he did. Disrespect. Straight up disrespect. But my point being is there shouldn't have been a more pissed off and embarrassed team than the TCU Horned Frogs entering the college football season. Guess what? They got caught with their pants down by Coach Prime. The Eagles should be the most embarrassed and pissed off team out of any other team because you got beat in the Super Bowl. You make it all the way. It's frustrating. If you're a competitor, I'd almost rather get knocked out early than get so close I can almost taste it and then lose. So,
Right.
yeah, they were far too comfortable entering this season. Not sure why, but they're going to learn quick because Mac Jones, mid-Jones, 316
Mid-Jones.
yards. You're crazy. That's
Mid-Jones.
nuts.
Wow,
nuts.
that's disrespectful.
It sure is. And you know what else is disrespectful?
Tell me.
Being a Steelers money line better. Oh, okay. I'm just going to let the chat go crazy right now. Feel free to roast. I want that because I need to know what prompted me truly to go. No, I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it was. It was Mike Tomlin as a home underdog. You could pretty much spoon feed me that any season and I will blindly tail it. Mike Tomlin as a home dog, every time. Kenny Pickett, he made me look like Boo Boo the effing fool. Boo Boo the fool, preseason.
Hold on. Let me get this straight because some of us are still learning betting, Liv, okay?
Yes.
There's some people like you in this chat and there's some people like me. We're learning.
All right, I'll help you out.
The money line is basically you just took the Steelers to beat the San Francisco 49ers in week 1. That's what you did.
Okay, the way you just said that, it sounds like you're judging me. I don't think that was a question.
Well, I can't judge you if
Brandon.
I don't know, like, you know what I'm saying? Educate me.
Here's how I'll educate you. I was an idiot. And yes, I thought the Steelers were going to upset the 49ers. But I'm telling you right now, I owe Brock Purdy an apology. I really do. I have been frustrated with the 49ers and all these, who's our quarterback? Brock Purdy. Yes, he did his job last season. But to me, when you look at the toughness of his schedule alone, I was like, okay, he wasn't facing super, excellent defense. I hold the Steelers defense to a very high regard. I really do. TJ Watt healthy. I was like, oh yeah, he's exposing this Brock Purdy dude.
Listen,
I was unfamiliar with his game.
I
apologize.
I'll say this. On Sunday, it looked like Watt in Pittsburgh. It looked like Watt was the only star on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster. Now, obviously, you have their wide receiver. He didn't get his opportunities. The quarterback looked like he was a rookie. Like he took a step back. Not impressed at all. And I'll dive deeper once we get into the overreaction conversation later in the show. I'll dive deeper there. But I'm nervous for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Liv, I'm from Pittsburgh. I still bleed a little bit of black and yellow, right? Things have changed when I got drafted, but my entire family lives there. And watching that game, it was almost as if the San Francisco 49ers was playing against or in a scrimmage game against like the JV team, right? Sometimes in high school you have the varsity team, scrimmage against the JV team. And that's what it looked like. It was bad. You had a little banter leading up to the game where you had Patrick Peterson, old man Patrick Peterson, who's still doing it. Love Patrick Peterson. And he's like, look, Brock Purdy, he's showing some things. And I'm going to pick him off. And he had his opportunities, but he couldn't come down with the ball. And then when you watch the game, I thought about it. I was like, you know what? The 49ers were supposed to win this game. That's why I was surprised that you took them on the money line because the 49ers, to me, were supposed to win this game. And so this is what contenders do, even if they're on the road. But the way they won this game wasn't that supposed to happen in Pittsburgh against a Mike Tomlin-led team.
Right.
At all.
Come on. I mean, they lost in an embarrassing fashion. There was not one time that I said the Steelers could really be – actually, that's not true. When they went into halftime, they scored just before halftime. And I was like, okay, this is Mike Tomlin we're talking about, all right? This is me – giving myself a pep talk because I know what kind of money I've got on this game. And I'm like, you know what? It's fine. They score before half. I'm thinking they get the ball back after halftime, which they didn't. And so once I realized that, I was like, all right, let's just play some defense. Here comes Christian McCaffrey, 60 plus yards all the way down for a touchdown. I'm like, that's it. I had to turn it off. There was no way I was watching the rest of that game because they just had the momentum from start to finish. And I really did simply just underestimate Brock Purdy. I did. Right. And I mean, shame on me because if you look at the weapons around him, hello. I mean, that right there should have been my first red flag that this money line bet is not a good idea. But again, Mike Tomlin, man, Do you think this is the first year he goes under 500? I mean, he's a winning head coach, but this is not the Mike Tomlin that we see in week one. He upset the Bengals last year in week one.
So I would say, later in the show, we got a cool little segment called week one overreactions. Because this is what happens in week one, the first couple of weeks. Week 3, week 4, everybody's going to go out there. This person that, this team this. Too early, pump the brakes. So, Liv, I want to wait to answer that question, okay? Everybody's overreacting. Hopefully you have your 3 overreactions written down. I have my 3 overreactions written down. I'm excited to share those. Look, man, how Tua are they, like Tua, the Miami Dolphins, excuse me, all right? To me, this was a slugfest. This was a heavyweight fight. You have 2 contenders going at it, and the Miami Dolphins look good. They look good.
Yes.
Hill, Tua, I mean, the question that I had watching this game were, are they stopped? Can they be stopped? Are they unstoppable? You had Hill catching 11 catches, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. The first time going over 200 yards with the Miami Dolphins in his 3rd of his career. That performance was crazy, and then it was matched by Tua. Tua went dumb. Completed 28
stupid.
for 45 passes for
Stupid.
466 yards and 3 touchdowns in his first game since December 25th.
Woo.
Put him on the MVP watch list. Hopefully that's not an overreaction, but man, he looked like damn Shador Sanders against TCU.
Ooh,
sorry,
there's
Liv.
that salt again.
That salt again. He did. Did he look like – that's how Shador was in week 1. What the hell, the last 2 weeks.
I'm going to tell you something. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I'll tell you, Tua, okay, before the season started, I said if Tua stays healthy, I could see him as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And everyone's like, is this chick on drugs? What is going on? She does not know what she's talking about. Excuse me, 400-plus yards. We are watching magic happen. Not only that, but then he goes, oh, you don't believe in me just yet? Let me be clutch. In the final seconds of this game, let me win it straight to Hill with a pass that looks like if you blinked your eyes, you missed it. He was balling out. And I'll tell you, my only concern as of now for Tua and this Dolphins team is that O-line. Because I worry if he gets hit one more good time, it's a wrap. I mean, this poor guy got beat up last season. So if that O-line can do, they don't need to be exceptional. We have seen quarterbacks perform exceptionally well without an O-line, but he needs it. He really does. So if they can do, an average job at their job, I feel great about what Tua can do. And honestly, I would give them that division.
Brandon Marshall here.
The Jets and the Bills. I would do it.
Brandon Marshall here on YouTube, Sirius XM, Faction Talk Channel 103, sitting with one of our partners, Liv, filling in for our homie, Ashley Nicole Moss, who's in New York Fashion Week. I expect the paper chasers to give her shit when she comes back tomorrow. A lot of shit. She missed. There was her moment, Liv, to talk about the Cowboys, rub it in Bianca's face.
She had a lot of shit talking she could have done for sure.
Right. I saw you guys going back and forth on Twitter a little bit. Or you try to push her a little bit. And she's like, just calm down. Wait. But before we even get to the Cowboys, because we got more to come on the Cowboys. Liv, what's good with Coach Payton? What was it, 16, 17? What happened there?
You know what? Here's what's interesting to me. I'm going to try to remove the bias and the fan base side of me for a second. Honest to God, I was watching a completely different and much improved offense. So why the hell are we getting the same result? I genuinely was watching that game trying to figure out Russell had a good game. 79% completion rate, 0 interceptions, 2 touchdown passes. I mean, he performed exceptionally better than what we saw last season, which as of last season was the main concern. It was never the defense. The defense took strides back. Now everyone's looking at Vance Joseph sideways. I thought the Broncos had a coaching advantage here, And then here comes Sean Payton with balls of steel with an onside kick right off the rip. What are you doing? Baby steps, Sean. I mean, for God's sake, I know you're a great coach. I know you're one of the most offensive-minded and winningest coaches. You know, we're having really solid Hall of Fame conversations about a guy like Sean Payton, in my opinion. I mean, what is up with the onside off the rip? That's how he starts the game. I was sitting there like, oh God, this could either be a really great thing or a really bad thing. Russ was hanging with Jimmy the whole time.
Right. Well,
and they still lost.
This is what I would say. First off, it's hard to watch all the games, right? You know, you have so many games on, 1 and a couple of games on at 4. Then you have Sunday Night Football. It's hard to watch all of them, so you got to catch up, right? And so this is one of the games I had to come in and watch the quick version. And watching this game, I will say that Russell Wilson looked really good. I think that he was very very strategic and very intentional on not trying to cook too fast and over-deliver.
Slow cook. We gotta get in the slow cooker.
What is that thing called? The crock pot?
Crock pot, pot roast.
I feel like
he was making a pot roast.
Yeah, I feel like Russell Wilson was crock pot cooking yesterday, right?
Yeah,
like,
he was.
Everything I went through last year, everything the team went through last year, let me not come out and try to prove to the world that I'm still him. Let me not come out and get a tipped pass and interception, a pick six, or, you know, he did have a fumble that was saved by illegal touching, illegal contact, but he had one little fumble that he was able to get back. But Russell came out and he took advantage of what was open. You know, he didn't try to force anything, and he seemed very careful. So I expect Russell Wilson to go from the crock pot to the kitchen, from the kitchen out on the balcony to start barbecuing, because he looked good. His arm looked good. He was moving well.
He did.
So I was shocked that they didn't score more points, Liv, because what you said was absolutely correct. This is the same defense that held everyone last year to beneath 20 points. And so all we're asking our offense to do is score 3 touchdowns. Give us 3 touchdowns and we'll probably win 90% of our games. That defense is that good, right? And they weren't able to do that against a Josh McDaniels-led team, a defense that didn't even have Chandler Jones. Did Chandler Jones play? I don't think he played. Chandler Jones said, I don't want to even play for this general manager. I don't want to play for this head coach, right? So for the Broncos to go out there and only put up less than 20 points, you know, was shocking to me. But I understand why they approached the game they did, or at least Russell Wilson. Like, Russell was out there just like, yo, I ain't going. If Russell Wilson went out there and threw a pick or 2 and lost, oh my goodness! I think y'all would have probably cut him or tried to cut him or trade him right there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And honestly, what a sick world we live in that the Raiders, after week 1, are at the top of the AFC West.
I know, but that's good.
Barf thinking about it.
Chiefs are 0-1. Broncos 0-1. The Chargers
0-1. Yuck.
You know who else is 0-1? All right, last news of the day. You got the Cincinnati Bengals falling to the Cleveland Browns. All right. We're talking about in little less than a day, a little over a day, you have Joe Burrow going from sugar to backing up the Brinks truck to shit, just like that. Excuse my language, but that's exactly what it was. Like, this is Joey B. Joey B, he didn't even throw for over 100 yards. It's the less amount of yards that he threw for in his career, probably going back to Pee Wee football. He completed 14 of 31 passes for no touchdowns. He also had no interceptions, so that was good. You know, he didn't make a bad day worse. But 24-3 loss to the Cleveland Browns. Now, I think the Cleveland Browns is a team that we need to watch out for.
Absolutely.
You know, I also like the Tennessee Titans, but we can talk about them another time. So I'm not surprised that they won the game, but I am surprised that they won this way and that Joe Burrow and that offense performed the way they did. Here's a video that I want to show because a little banter, a little talk going back and forth leading up to the game. You know, Jamar Chase basically talking about, you know, just shitting on, I'm going to be honest, just shitting on the Cleveland Browns to the point where you had Myles Garrett like, yo, we might need to have a little talk. And so when you go out there and you talk that way, you got to back it up, and they weren't able to back it up. So it's like you got to be a man. After the game, you got to stand in front of the camera and the men and women on the beat, and you got to say, you know what? They got it. They got the best of us. So here's a video of Jamar Chase doing just that. Oh, we don't have the video. Excuse me. Sorry about that, Liv. So, Liv, while they're looking at the video, we don't even need to throw the video up. What's your reaction there?
Well, I mean, pretty big, bold statement to call another team elves. Because what ended up happening was that Browns defense came out and made your whole team, your whole offense look like Santa's helpers out there. I mean, listen, it's one thing to be hanging close, but it was not close. And I was actually thrilled because I did bet the Browns on the money line for new bettors. That means I predicted the Browns would upset the Bengals, which to many people is like, what? The Bengals have been a significantly better team. Well, in their last 10 meetings, the Bengals are 2-8 against the Browns. Now in the 11 meetings, they are 2-9 against the Browns. So I really like the Browns going into this game, but I did not anticipate the level of defense that they would be having against a team like the Bengals. To embarrass Joe Burrow that badly is insane to me. To hold the highest paid NFL player to under 100 passing yards is nuts. I think this was, I mean, not just a testament to, and we can talk a little bit later about the overreaction stuff, but I feel like this was more of a testament to how solid the Browns defense was than it was to how bad the Bengals offense could be. So shout out to the Browns defense. They absolutely dominated. They looked incredible. But yeah, I mean, to call another team elves and then to get beat like that, right. He might want to be quiet the rest of the season. That's all I'm saying. That was giving very much Dylan Brooks vibes. Like you poked the wrong bear, my boy. You poked the wrong bear because they embarrassed the hell out of you. And what's interesting is you've got a Joe Burrow and you've got a Daniel Jones. They get paid and they have one of the worst performances in week 1. Do we need to take your money back? What's going on here?
No, that might, see, Liv, that might be an overreaction. Some people
well,
out there,
you know what?
You ain't like that. I know you ain't like that. I know you just poking the bear right now.
I am. I'm pulling a Dylan Brooks because I'm feeling feisty on a Monday.
Joe B here. Listen, I want to shift gears here. I want to get into Daily Route. We hear you guys. We know Ashley's not here, and you guys always pick on Ashley talking about y'all always want to talk the Cowboys. Always want to talk the Cowboys. And I'm looking at the chat. It's really y'all more than her. Like that's all. That's the chat is like the Cowboys, the Cowboys, the Cowboys, the Cowboys. So here you go. Let's go to Daily Route. Let's switch gears here. Let's dive into this game a little bit more. The Dallas Cowboys, they walk into MetLife Stadium and they get the job done. It was the 5th time since 2007 the two teams play in opening night, Liv. Sunday Night Football, Dallas has now won in 4 of those games. And the 12 times the two teams have competed to start this campaign, the Cowboys have won all but once. Dallas has won 5 in a row against New York and have won 12 of the last 13 against their NFC rival. So, Liv, my question for you in Daily Route, and I'll jump it off here, right? The question that I have in Daily Route is this. Who surprised you more, the Dallas Cowboys or the Giants? And the reason why I asked that question is because I'm sitting there in O'Hara Airport last night watching. I told you the experience that I had. First time seeing, America's team being celebrated this way, right? Like, of course, when I go into, the Star and you see all the fans there in a rah-rah, like, yeah, of course, I hear you, I see you. But to be in Chicago, in O'Hara, surrounded by all these people going different places, screaming for the Cowboys after every big play, was like, damn, this really is America's team. Never experienced anything like this. But as I'm watching this first half, Liv, in the airport, the only thing I could think about was the Giants. It wasn't really about the Cowboys. And so that's why I asked that question. It's like, was this more about the Cowboys or the Giants? For me, it was about the Giants, right?
I agree 100%.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that's going to overreact. And I keep saying overreact. It's week 1. The Cowboys, team to beat. The Cowboys look phenomenal, right? Giants, there's going to be some people that say, maybe myself, the Giants, worst team in the NFL, cooked. You just said it was the worst loss that we've ever seen, maybe?
Yeah.
Potentially. You can look at it. It's debatable. It's debatable. But, Liv, I'll say this. This is why this is an overreaction for me, is because when you look at this game, you can't fall 16-0 in the first quarter against this type of team, the way this team is constructed.
Yeah, no.
You can't. Why? Because you have a defensive line that's going to pin their earbacks and get after the quarterback. So Daniel Dimes was, or you said Daniel Pennies? Daniel Pennies was running for his life.
He was.
All night. So why were they able to do that? Because they didn't have to worry about the run. When you're down 16-0 and then when you're down 20-something, 30-something to 0, everybody in the stadium know and everybody watching knows that you got to pass the ball. So now you got a guy like Micah Parsons that doesn't even have to worry about run. I never forget Elvis Dumervil when I was playing for the Denver Broncos, your Denver Broncos. He was excited when he got Peyton Manning. I said, why are you so excited, bro? He said, bro, because when you play defensive line and defensive end on a team that has a Peyton Manning or a Drew Brees, if you know you're going to play with the lead. So what happens when you play with the lead? I don't have to worry about run. I can pin my ears back and just go.
Right.
So that's why it was so difficult for the Giants once they fell behind. And I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes we overanalyze these games and players, but it's super simple, right? There's a few things that we look at. Look at red zone efficiency. Look at third down efficiency on both sides. Look at who's giving up points in the red zone and who's not scoring. And there's another thing that you look at is turnovers. Turnovers are huge. You're not going to see any teams be successful turning the ball over 3-4 times. The Giants turned the ball over. The first drive, they marched down Liv, and they get a bad snap. Okay, how the hell do you snap the ball and Daniel Jones take a 20, 30-yard sack, whatever that was? And so now they set up for a long field goal. So special teams march out on the field, and now they get a blocked field goal to open up the season. But it's not only blocked, they pick it up and they score. So now you're trailing and you lose the momentum. And so they had 3 moments like that, and they never had a chance. So there's a lot of, I say all that to say this, Liv, there's a lot of people out there that's going to say that the Cowboys, who I picked to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, so I love this, a great start for my picks. But there's a lot of people out there going to say, oh, yeah, the Cowboys, they're the best. They're great. They're phenomenal. And there's going to be teams out there saying the opposite about the Giants. And I would say this, that stuff that we saw last night is fixable, is coachable when we saw what we saw out of the Giants. And they just can't fall behind on a team like this. So everybody pump the brakes. The Giants are going to be okay. It's a good start for the Cowboys. But I think last night is probably more distracting for us than it is telling. So Liv, how did you see this? Were you focused more on the Giants or the Cowboys?
Oh, for sure the Giants. I mean, listen, this is a quarterback that just got paid $160 million and couldn't make a play. My jaw was on the floor. This is also a team that shocked a lot of people. I took their over on their win totals last season. It hit for plus money odds. I made some good money. You know, this is a team that really surprised people. But the reason that I took them last season was because Daniel Jones was fighting for a contract. Then he gets paid. And this is what we get. Now, I will play devil's advocate here and say that Dallas defense is legit. And they were really giving Daniel Jones a hard time. But like you mentioned earlier, let's talk about Saquon Barkley. Arguably their strongest offensive player that they've got started the season with a bad taste in his mouth. That was stupid. That was really stupid. Put a bad taste in Saquon Barkley's mouth to start the year when you've got a Daniel Jones that, yes, I think, had a great season last year, but it was completely an overperformance. Do I think that the Giants will continue to look this poorly throughout the season? No. Do I think that the Cowboys will continue to look this great throughout the season? No. We've seen it a million times. You put Dak Prescott up against a solid defense, he goes from top tier to middle tier like this. So I'm not listen, the Cowboys convincingly won. But when you look at these two teams on paper, they should have. So I don't want to sit here and gas the Cowboys too much because I'm not going to applaud a fish for swimming. I mean, look at these two rosters.
Again. You're not going to what? That kind of went over.
I'm not going to applaud a fish for swimming. Cowboys, you did your job. About time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would have been it should have been 40-0. You look at these two teams on paper, there wasn't a chance for this Giants team. I'm sorry. There was a QB advantage with the Cowboys. There was a defensive advantage with the Cowboys. Now you've got an offensive advantage because you've got a Saquon Barkley who's ticked off, and you've got a Brandon Cooks and a CeeDee Lamb combo.
Listen,
they should have whooped them.
I will say this. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, damn, I will be surprised because you got to think about Dak Prescott has only lost one game against the Cowboys. Against the Giants. Only one. What is Dak in year 7, year 8? You got to go back to his rookie year, the last time he lost. So what I was going to say, I wouldn't have been surprised the next time they see each other, second time around at the Giants win. But actually, I will be. But this, I was going to go that route, Liv, because the Giants, what they're missing to me is they're missing an explosive player on the outside, right? Like, who's that receiver that's going to step up and make the big play? I'm not talking about dinking and dunking. I'm not talking about trickery. I'm not talking about, out scheming a guy. I'm talking about just a playmaker. Who's that dude that's going to make that play on Sunday Night Football like Odell Beckham Jr. made? Who's going to be that dude to go up and like a D-Hop does when there's 2-3 dudes covering, but it's a gotta-have-you moment. They got that young rookie who's wearing 13. They're high on him. Can he potentially do it? Is the city too big for him? I don't know. But
to me, not having that explosive player on the outside is the Giants' way of saying they don't believe in Daniel Jones.
Well, explain that to me.
I don't think that they're going to invest in an offense if they don't truly trust that their quarterback is going to do his part in making that offense work. The problem is,
so you're saying that the Giants rather put their money in their defense aside and say, y'all go win us the championship like the Baltimore Ravens defense did and the Pittsburgh Steelers defense did. And there's so many other examples out there. And it's like, look, Daniel Jones, you just got to hold it down with what we give you. Is that what you're saying? That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Wow.
100%. Because again, look at who the offense was. It was a Saquon Barkley. Hand him the ball and let him do his thing. They weren't ever building an offense around Danny Dimes to essentially be the leader. Maybe emotionally, he definitely gives like sweet papa vibes. I'm sure he's very sweet and awesome, but from an offensive perspective, that's not a quarterback I'm building an offense around.
Listen, they're not far off.
Absolutely not.
Listen, Liv, I'll say this: the New York Football Giants are not far off, and some people are going to watch this film and say, "Man, this team is bad. They're headed in the wrong direction." I disagree. Brian Daboll needs to keep his composure, his poise, because he is a fiery guy, and needs to sell his team on the bigger picture and how long this season is. There's so many things that can change come week 6, week 7, week 8. It could be one injury in the division. It could be one injury in a game that totally flips the momentum from just like a positioning standpoint. So if Brian Daboll leans into his leadership and show the poise and the composure, like, look, guys, take a deep breath. Let's correct this. I truly believe this, and some people might laugh at me. The stuff that we saw Daniel Jones do last night, as far as the one pick on the right side getting out, and you had Gilmore intercept that ball, like that's coachable, right? Even the other interception, people are just going to look at the stat line, the box score, and say, oh, he threw 2 picks. No, he threw it to Saquon. Saquon turns upfield. The defender puts his hat right on the ball, like a bang-bang play, perfect position, freak play, and he picks the ball off. Like, how many times are we going to see that? So you don't panic in a situation. You don't panic because special teams, you shouldn't lose games off of special teams. Those things are correctable. Okay?
Yeah, no, you're right.
So I say all that to say this. If I'm the Giants, you know what I do? I go get Mike Evans. Mike Evans gave the Tampa Bay Bucks a Saturday deadline to get a deal done. Friday night, the Bucks, there was a report that came out that said the Bucks are not going to offer him anything. If I'm Mike Evans, I say, okay, salute. I'm probably top 5 in the franchise. When you come to faces of the franchise, who's been here 10 years, done some amazing things, won the Super Bowl. My time is up here. It's okay. And I'm going to come back. I'll retire a buck. I'll continue to keep my house and do my business in the community. But now it's time to move on. And the Giants are a great landing spot for them because they need a guy like that.
No, they do. They do, for sure.
So let's move on here, Liv. Are the Cowboys the team to beat in the division? Hey, we got to produce the show, right? I know it's week 1, Liv. I get it. You know, and the Philadelphia Eagles, they were in the Super Bowl last year. They stacked, right? They had a phenomenal offseason, the draft, but we got to have the discussion. Are they the team to beat in the division?
I mean, if we're going solely off of week 1, yeah, I would say that they are. However, haven't we seen this story before? I mean, let's not pretend like we haven't seen the Cowboys start with a very dominating season and even dominating throughout the entire regular season. But when it matters most, you know, same story, different year. So that's where I don't even like letting myself fall into the Cowboys trap.
Right.
Because it can happen like this, where I am like, oh my God, I love what I see. They've got everything that they need. I'll tell you who's standing in the way of all of it is the old fart running the whole thing, Jerry Jones.
What do you mean?
I mean, the moment he stopped, because let me tell you something. Dak Prescott, to me, performs best without any of this unnecessary BS pressure applied on his shoulders. And the person that's always applying it is the person at the very top of the food chain.
Hold on.
For what?
Hold on. Let's debate this.
So here we go.
So you're saying he performs best. So okay, when he doesn't have the pressure from within, internally, right? Did I hear you correctly there? Mm-hmm. All right, Dak Prescott's in what, year 9, I believe? Is it year 9? He's in year 9. So his best has gotten him what? You don't see Jerry Jones using the Trey Lance trade. You don't see Jerry Jones using these tactics as far as like, look, we want to win now. You don't see him using that to actually say, okay, your best ain't good enough. We need a little bit more. I'm 120 years of age, and I don't know how much longer I got, and I want to win the Super Bowl before I just got to keep it real. Like, I would feel that way. Like, if I'm an owner and I'm getting up there in age, long in the tooth, I'm going to be like, damn, I need to see it right now. So you don't see this as a good strategy?
No.
Wow.
I don't.
Okay.
Because I think that from the jump, Jerry Jones has missed Romo and hasn't been a fan of his own quarterback in Dak Prescott. I don't think that Jerry Jones believes in Dak Prescott. So to me, if you're trying to get a Super Bowl before the end of your time, you know, you're climbing the life ladder, you're getting older, you're trying to see a Super Bowl, but you don't believe in your quarterback, then move on.
He paid him. Liv, he paid him.
And then went to the public and said that we overpaid him. Why would you say you decided what kind of money you gave this man, and then you went out there, put your face on camera and said, yeah, we pay him too much money. So why would you even say that if you're the one that's agreeing to pay Dak Prescott the type of money he makes? That to me is an unnecessary pressure. Why did you even say that to the public? Why did you keep head coach and Dak Prescott on an island when it came to the Trey Lance conversation? What kind of mind games are we doing here? Unnecessary.
So maybe the next question. Well, let me answer this question first before I move on. I'm just like asking you questions without answering them myself. But are the Cowboys a team to beat in the division? My answer is yes. It's yes. The past 24 years, we haven't seen a team win a division back-to-back. The Cowboys,
True.
It comes down to Dak Prescott. That's it. It's plain and simple. You know, like when you have a quarterback that can lead the way, you know, you have a better chance because you can look around the league and there's so much, you know, terrible play at the quarterback position. So that's when you see, Brock Purdy be efficient. Why can all work? When you see a Joe Burrow go out there and light things up, why can all work without an offensive line? So Dak Prescott can actually make the guys around him better. We saw this just 2 years ago. The dude had his offense averaging 500 yards a game, number 1 in the NFL before he broke his ankle. So we've seen him play at the highest level at the quarterback position, throw for 300-something yards a game. We've seen that. And then this whole interception thing, that's a story. That's a narrative that's being created by all the Cowboy haters. The dude has protected the ball more than any other quarterback in the league. That's how that was his claim to fame. When he first got there, it's like, look at this rookie quarterback. He's 20-something touchdowns and only 2-3 interceptions. Like, that was Dak Prescott. So I would say yes. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles, they were in the Super Bowl last year, Liv. We know they're stacked, but look, the Cowboys are right there. They have one of the best rosters in the NFL. And it's going to come down to Dak Prescott, number one. And then also if Coach McCarthy will get out the way. This is Coach McCarthy's now. He's calling the plays again. Remember, Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator. Now he's out in L.A. with the Chargers. So let's see what Coach McCarthy does as well. There was no pressure. There was no pressure applied to Dak Prescott and Coach McCarthy last night. So we'll see in week 2. And the reason why I said I may have to change this next question before I answer that one is because – is it more so about Dak or Jerry Jones? To your answer, is Dak running out of excuses? That's my question. Is Dak running out of excuses? But is it more so is the Cowboys running out of excuses? That should be the question because you're blaming Jerry Jones.
I think he's definitely part of the problem for sure. I think he's definitely part of the problem. I think here's what's hard. You've got America's team that gets more media attention than, any other team. And it's been this way for a very, very long time. And they've got an incredible roster and they fall short every year. Guess what? No one really cares about the Lions falling short every year. No one really cares about the Cardinals having a really bad season this year. Nobody's cared about the Commanders falling short every year. The Cowboys have demanded this attention. It's who they are. So all eyes on you. Every move you make, every offseason, every trade, every offseason move that you make, every game matters. And so for me, it doesn't all fall on Dak Prescott. To your point, he had a lot of interceptions last season. A lot of those you can't just blame on Dak. So this isn't just about Dak Prescott. It's the Cowboys team as a whole. If you reread the same chapter of the same book 255 times, but you're expecting the end result to be different, you're expecting some plot twist at the end of the same chapter, get real. What I do think the upside is for the Cowboys this year, something that I think the Cowboys did well this year, is it feels like we finally have an offense that's a little more catered to Dak. What I have felt for the past many seasons of falling short with the Cowboys is they basically give Dak whatever offense that they feel, which again, part of the problem is you've got a lot of those front office people that are not football minded individuals.
Right.
I've never played the game. So you and I even have very different interpretations and perspectives on football. And so to have football minded people running the show is very important to me. And I think that what they did well this year was build an offense more catered to Dak rather than saying, hey, Dak, here's your offense, figure it out.
Okay.
That's where I struggle is I don't feel like they've always set Dak up for success.
Right. So well, here's what I would say. I think the Cowboys, Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones, however you want to cut it, they're out of excuses.
Yes.
Like they're in a phenomenal
Agreed.
position. And
they are in a great position.
And this is the type of pressure that you should welcome. This is not a bad thing. When we go out there and we watch, ESPN and FS1 or hell, a paper route on YouTube, right? And people say, well, the Dak Prescott and the Cowboys are out of excuses. Why do the players or the coaches, the organizations or the fans take that personal? Why are you hating them? No, it's not hating. That's a privilege to be in a position where people are saying that you're that good that you should be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
now, there's times like I understand this whole cowboy commentary where there's times where it's like, yo, y'all not that good. But over the past 5-6 years, this team has been one of the premier teams in the NFL, and that's why I pushed back on you earlier, Liv, when you kind of took a shot at Jerry Jones, because I feel like Jerry Jones has done a phenomenal job putting together a roster and not overreacting. Like when I first got in the league, I put Jerry Jones and Dan Snyder in the same bucket. Those were owners throwing money at situations. Anything flashy, anything that had a big name, oh, we go get him. Let's bring the star in. But then Jerry Jones kind of like did a 180 where he's like, you know what? Forget that. Let me go build my team within. And he wasn't going out there getting the high profile, free agent pickup of the year. He wasn't doing that. What was he doing? He was drafting and being patient and paying his guys that were developed from within the organization. So to me, this is a great position to be in. And this what comes with this type of territory, right? When this is the standard for the organization, when you have this type of roster, yes, you're out of excuses. Now, it sucks because, are we going to say if the Cowboys make it to the NFC Championship and they don't advance, that this was a bad year? So is it Super Bowl or bust?
Jesus, I wasn't even created in the womb the last time they won.
What if they make it to the Super Bowl? What if they make it to the Super Bowl and they lose? Is that still is that a bad year for them?
I mean, it depends on here's the thing. I'm not saying that's a bad year, because I would go as far to say that the Eagles had a great year last year. They just didn't win it all. But what I'm going to tell you is, you just listed off a million things that you think Jerry Jones has done right. But guess what? They haven't won a Super Bowl since '96, so he can't be doing that much right. That's my point, is even when they do things right, even when they have successful regular seasons, is the end goal in football not to win a Super Bowl? Is that not the end goal for all of these teams and players and coaches and owners?
It is, but only a few teams and organizations are really in position to get it done. If we really want to be honest.
The Cowboys have been in position to get it done.
They've been in position. They've been in position.
And they're more in position now than ever, so it's time.
Okay.
It's time.
Liv, let's move on. I was going to ask some other questions about the Cowboys, but I think we can move on, maybe circle back a little later. This is Brandon Marshall. This is Liv Moods. Okay, make sure y'all follow her. She's an expert in all things sports. But Liv, what I really enjoy listening to is your opinions and your analysis and everything around betting. So make sure if y'all out there y'all betting, y'all follow Liv, because Liv got the info to get a big bag. Liv, biggest upset this Sunday?
I mean, I think we touched on it a little bit, but I'd probably say the Bears were personally the biggest upset to me, just because I did not foresee Jordan Love to have the game that he had, and I was just disappointed in the offense or lack thereof of this Bears team. So I would go that route. I would say from a betting perspective, the way in which the Bengals lost and the game that they didn't even perform in, I would say from a betting perspective, there were a lot of people betting on the Bengals.
Right.
A lot of people thought the Bengals were going to win that comfortably.
Really?
Hell, they even took the spread. Oh, yeah, they even took the spread. I think I saw 75% of the bets were on the Bengals to cover, which I think it was flirting around 3.5 to 2.5. So Vegas thought they would win by at least 3 or 4 points. And about 75% of bets were on the Bengals to cover that spread. And
Liv, can you educate me? Can you help me out here?
Of course.
Because I played for a long time, and gambling is supposed to be illegal or against the rules, off limits for players. Now, obviously, over the last 2 years, we've seen a lot of guys in the NFL be suspended because they betting. I don't know what they doing, but the NFL is watching. They're like the feds. They got tracking devices on all these apps. They watching you. They watching your mama. So you can't even say, "Hey, mama, I'm gonna throw you this." Hey,
grandma, place this parlay for me.
Can't even do it. They following everything. But you talk about Vegas. Like, what does that mean? You're like, Vegas says, like, what? Vegas? Who is Vegas?
I'm telling you.
Who are these people?
It's scary business, because I will go into okay. Perfect example. Vegas is basically the sports book. It's who sets the line and who determines that the over-under total is 50.5, or who determines that the spread is 2.5 versus 10.5, right? Like, Vegas said, we believe that the Ravens should win by 10 at least, right? So that's Vegas. It's the sports book. And where they get their information from is beyond me. Because let me tell you some weird crap. I'm looking at the slate the other day and I'm going, okay, what do I want to bet? I immediately said to myself, and this was when the spread was 5.5. So Vegas had it right. They nailed it right on the head. I said, why are the Philadelphia Eagles, only a 5.5 point favorite? Why? Mac Jones, maybe a coaching advantage and some home field advantage. Defensively, the Eagles can hang with this Patriots team. What's with the 5.5? Yeah. Eagles win by 5. Who would have called that? I mean, these are the types of things. Vegas is so scary accurate sometimes that I am like, This is why people talk NFL script.
So
they're like, how did you know that? Like, how did you know this was going to happen? That's insane to me.
No, this is good. So is this like Web3 AI generated? Like, is there some big computer in Vegas that's just putting together these bets?
I mean, it should potentially, because I'm telling you, it should scare people how accurate Vegas is sometimes.
Right.
It's terrifying.
Right. This is all interesting to me hearing you talk about this whole betting world. So how should we approach it? Right. Like I got, let's say my budget, I'm anywhere from $25 to $100, a bet. Right. So I might put 25 here on this parlay, 25 over there. How should I be approaching it?
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. When you're on a hot streak, it's real. It feels real good to puff up your chest and start increasing those units and go, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to put 50 on it. Let me tell you what happens after a hot streak. Jack Frost is coming to town, and that cold streak is right behind it. And I'm telling you right now, you do not want to be caught with $50 on a parlay in a cold streak era. So I would say money management's probably the most important. I stick to my units are $10. So if I say I'm putting 3 units on this, that means I'm putting $30 on this parlay. And that means I really like it. Or I'm putting 5 units on Brown's money line. I'm putting $50 on it. I do not exceed 50 is kind of my max. I do not exceed that. Because again, you also have to shop around for good value. We'll talk a little bit about the Monday Night Football game tonight. There's some sneaky good value in some of those plays. So I'd rather put less money on a bet and find great value than take, I don't know. If you take the Ravens to win outright, well, yeah, no crap. Vegas has got them favored by 10. So you're not going to get much money back. You gotta be shopping around.
So what I hear, right, and this is important, right, because I think there was a report that came out, case that came out that said that there's going to be 75 million people betting NFL through the season. It's a lot of money. We're talking about, I don't even know how many billions is being spent in advertising on, positioning from the biggest sports book, and how much money is flowing through these sports book every single week. So it's a lot of money. And so there's a lot of people that are now, starting to dibble and dab in it, but may not understand, that there's strategy there. It's almost like the market almost, right? Like, because you go in the market, anytime you put your money somewhere and you're expecting something to happen because somebody else is in control, it's a gamble, right?
It is.
There's a difference between going out there and saying, yo, let's just go throw dice, and then having a strategy and a plan. So hearing you talk, just the first thing that comes to mind is like, oh, there's a strategy behind some of these approaches, or should be a strategy. Sure. It should be a strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of the best sports bettors in the world are only hitting 50% of their bets. So for casual or degenerate bettors, it's very easy to ride that high and be like, woo, I'm on fire. Let me up my units. Let me put this, 10-leg parlay together, whatever. The best sports bettors that do it for a living are hitting around 50%.
Okay.
So you just got to be cautious.
Well, there you go, paper chasers. Make sure y'all have a nice little strategy down. Liv is giving y'all game. And look, just don't, make sure you're smart about it. Liv, the upset for me, I know you talked about, who did you pick? Sorry.
The Bears.
You picked the Bears.
Game.
There you go.
Yeah.
I picked the Giants, right? I picked the Giants because there's no way in hell you should open up the year this way, 40-0. All right. Now, does things like this happen? Absolutely. We're talking about, turnovers. That's what that was the difference in this game. But to be on Sunday Night Football and to lose 40-0, you couldn't find 2 drives to make it respectable. I don't even know if that would have been respectable, but this is embarrassing because you do have a really good defense. You do have a quarterback. You have a quarterback, Liv. I don't care if we like it or not. They paid him $100-something million, $40 million a year.
A lot of money.
Right? You got Saquon Barkley, top 5 back in the NFL. Brian Daboll, one of the hottest coaches in the NFL last year. How do you guys do this? So it was disappointing. The Seattle Seahawks was another team, Liv, that was disappointing to me. they're, going into this year, we're talking about like the position of different teams and different divisions, and you're looking at, this division, you're like, okay, well, we know what the 49ers are, okay? It's just a matter of time before they either get over the hump or they don't, right? Because they got like 2 years to get it done, but we know they're contenders and they're the real deal, okay?
Right.
But what's going on with the Rams? The Rams just won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They pretty much paid for it. It was earned, but their strategy was different. They went out there saying, we don't give a damn about first-round picks, right? Like a veteran player is more valuable than a first-round pick, and we don't know what we're getting. So they trade away everything. Like they mortgaged their entire future, and they actually hit on it. They were one of the ones that did a great job playing Moneyball in football. You see this a lot in baseball. So they did a great job. But now there's no Odell Beckham Jr. There's no Jalen Ramsey. There's so many. Bobby Wagner was there last year, not there anymore. Like, there's so many guys that are not there from that Super Bowl team. Offensively, there was no Cooper Kupp.
I was just going to say, that's the more impressive piece of this, is that he was without his best offensive player in Cooper Kupp.
Matthew Stafford, too. People aren't high on Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was hurt last year.
Yep.
And Matthew Stafford went out there and, like, lit it up. It was like 330 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And I was trying to tell people, it's like, it's not like they're rebuilding. They know that they're behind the 8 ball, but there's no way in hell Coach McVay is walking into the facility every single day saying that I'm not trying to go win this game, or we're not capable of winning this game. He alone, baby boy wonder, baby boy genius, like I feel like he thinks he can win it. Like, all right, let me just put these players in place and let me put it this way.
Coach.
Right. He's different. Then you got Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
I don't know who the hell these receivers were. Something a Tutu. Where he come from? And Panucci. Sorry, I ain't trying to chop up nobody's name. I ain't trying to chop up nobody's name, but who are you?
Again,
you familiar with them?
names to the public. Like, these are people that we haven't had to pay attention to them, though, because like you said, Super Bowl teams stacked. Then you've got, they kind of fall off the map a little bit because Matthew Stafford's got an injury-riddled season. The only name that I think most people care to know about right now is Cooper Kupp. And actually, it's funny because as I was looking through the rundown for today and typing my notes, I didn't even write the 2 receivers' names down. All I said was no Cooper Kupp and Stafford.
That's disrespectful. You
and
more
2
disrespectful
of his
than
receivers had over 100 yards. I don't even know what their names are. If you asked me right now, I wouldn't be able to tell you. But
Tutu Atwell, 6 receptions for 119 yards.
There you go.
20 yards, a catch, 8 targets. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, but
I know his name. I'll know his name moving forward.
Puka Nacua, 10 receptions, 119 yards as well. 12 yards a catch, okay, off of 15 targets. Wow.
I just don't think anyone went into this game like going, okay, let me look at what's the weapons that Stafford has, because, what is he going to do without Kupp? I've been so high on Geno Smith and the Seahawks and finally having a true slot wide receiver in Jackson Smith and Jigba that I wasn't even paying attention to what the Rams were going to bring to the game. If we're being honest, I really wasn't. I think what happened was a healthy Matthew Stafford is what happened, and the Seahawks weren't prepared for it. I wasn't prepared for it. He's got a very new, very young roster that he has admittedly said, I'm struggling to connect with these guys a little bit.
Right.
So I went into this game thinking, this is a very convincing win by the Seahawks because they're better prepared, and I trust their QB more. And then Stafford showed up.
And Liv, think about this. Guys around the NFL, teams around the NFL, hell, even in the divisions, like, God damn it. Like, we didn't think we had to worry about the Rams for another few years.
Right.
Like, where did this come from? There's some people probably like, man, is this the real deal or not? I don't think people are overreacting, but for them to go in Seattle to have in the 12's backyard, and lose this way, man, that's brutal. And I think there's
Cooper Kupp. You put Cooper Kupp in that equation, I'm a little scared about what this Rams offense could be doing. They're going to make some noise.
Yeah. So hopefully they get it right. Pete Carroll, he has high hopes for this season. They got the pieces. They got 3 dogs at the wide receiver position. They got a decent running game. And Geno Smith got the big contract because he earned it and he played extremely well last year, off the charts. Defensively, I just don't know how you just get gashed like that. But we'll move on. And you know, obviously week 1, there were some great matchups. There were some upsets. You know, there were some great games that started off well the first half, and then teams start separating themselves. Like I think about the Baltimore Ravens, Liv, right? Like I'm watching, you know, the scores, you know, as I'm at the Bears and the Packers game, and I'm watching like, damn, is the Texans actually going to play with the Baltimore Ravens? And the Baltimore Ravens separated themselves. You know, there were some other games out there, right? We saw Detroit and Kansas City, obviously, Thursday night to open it up. Tampa Bay and Minnesota. Baker Mayfield, right?
Yeah, what? Baker who? Like what?
Right. So let's jump into week 1 overreactions, Liv. I hit you up late. I said, Liv, right now, we turn on the tube. There's going to be a lot of people out there screaming and yelling. This team sucked. This player need to be cut. We overpaid. You may have done it, Liv, in your nice way.
I think I did. I actually think I did it on this very show. We could, yeah.
No, I think you just said you went from we call him Danny Dimes to Danny Penny. Was that an overreaction, Liv?
No, I stand by that.
You stand? Okay, well, let's jump into week 1 overreactions. I would love to get your 3. You know, I asked you to give me 3. Send it over to Jazz. Jazz creates an amazing graphic. And let's see. Walk us through your overreactions.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy right now to say AFC North belongs to the Ravens. I mean, or you could bring the Browns into conversation, who we just chatted about. But I know for myself personally, I was very high on Joe Burrow and the Bengals, and I still am. I think that is going to be one of the major overreactions. It does not help that he just became the highest paid player in the NFL. And then to have the performance that he did, definitely, you know, it warrants an overreaction or two, but I think the Bengals will be fine. I really do. Joe Burrow is still that guy. And they got embarrassed last season, week 1 against the Steelers, and they bounced back just fine. So he's got enough weapons around him. I'm not worried about it. They will definitely figure out what they need to figure out. I've also got, is Brock Purdy the real deal? Before you
go there, Liv, sorry to cut you off, but I just want to be clear here. What this is, you know, this is what's happening around the league, right? Like every year, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, you know, some of our, most famous commentators and analysts and athletes too go out there and overreact in week 1, you know, and then, you know, the first couple of weeks we do that. And what we need to be doing is just paying attention, taking our notes, right? Tracking certain storylines or different little tales that teams are giving you, and then right around week 4, week 5, then this is like, okay, this is what's going on here, right? And so yeah, you can come out and have bold statements and opinions, but to overreact, I think it's a bit much. So Liv is walking us through her week 1 overreactions, things that we're paying attention to on Twitter, and maybe on ESPN and FS1, and maybe even on this show.
maybe just maybe. We might do a little overreacting, right?
Because I might contradict myself, Liv. I may contradict myself when I do.
Honestly, it's hard not to. But no, yeah, I think the noise, when I look at what happened yesterday, and you could even flash back to the Thursday night football game as well. That warranted some overreactions. But yeah, you're seeing people talk about, you know, Bengals are ruled out based on a really horrible performance. I don't believe it. I'm not buying it. I think the Bengals are still going to be a competitive force in the AFC North. I trust in Joe Burrow and his stacked offensive roster. I think that he will be fine. Brock Purdy had an exceptional game. His connection to Ayuk was something special. Now, I would feel a little bit better. You know, everyone's talking Brock Purdy, the real deal. They want me to buy in to what Brock Purdy's doing right now. I'll buy in, but only if it's on sale. BOGO, buy one, get one, because I'm not fully convinced just yet. And I know that sounds crazy as a Steelers money line bettor. Olivia, you're still a hater, doubter. No, none of that. I really just need to see him play against teams that look a little more serious. I thought the Steelers looked like Pee Wee football out there. So I want to see Brock Purdy up against, you know, some more competition, some division matchups. I think that's where I'll really be sold. And then Final overreaction. Are the Broncos heading for another losing season? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no because the largest issue from last season was Russell Wilson. He looked great. So we just need that defense to be back where it's been for years. And every point for the Broncos matters. Every single point. You know, some teams can get by with a missed field goal, a missed extra point. Not the Denver Broncos. No. You just can't afford it. So they I don't think that they're headed for another losing season. I think they'll be all right, but they got to tighten up a little bit. And guess what? That's what week 1 is for.
Right.
Figure out where your little mistakes are, your boo-boos, put Band-Aids on them, tighten things up and move on. You know, if you dwell on the week 1, you know, losses, whatever, you're screwed. So I think Joe Burrow and the Bengals will be fine. I think Brock Purdy had an excellent game, but I don't know how long that will last. And I think the Broncos will be fine. Okay.
I love it. Now, Liv, keep me honest here, right?
Okay.
Because this is everybody else's overreactions. And we're saying, slow down, sports world, NFL world. 320 million Americans, give or take a few. And 120 are avid football fans. This is football country. I see the Denver Nuggets posters and championship banner behind you, Liv. I don't know why you haven't switched it out yet. Put the Denver Broncos stuff up, but you're still
there's a little helmet right here. I just, you know.
Well, see, that's the problem. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, if they listen, I'm not embarrassed to be a Denver Broncos fan. I just I don't need a big old Broncos logo hanging above my head reminding me about what I saw yesterday. You know, I'm trying to leave it in the past.
Okay.
Move on.
All right.
Eyes on the future.
Well, here we go. You know, I don't think I'm going to overreact here. I don't think I'm going to play into the stigma. I don't think that I'm going to be the talking head that does this after 1 week. And we're still not really technically out of week 1 because we have what? The Jets and the Bills
Monday
tonight in New York.
That's right.
Okay. So guys, take this as bold statements, not me overreacting. So the first one, Liv, and I think you lost a lot of money on this first one. I don't know why. Liv, you're someone I respect so much in this space. And for you to go out there and take the money line, take the Steelers on the money line, I'm like, what?
I know.
What?
I know.
Right. But Liv, this is what I say. The Steelers have been mediocre for how many years now? Think about
mediocre. That feels a little harsh.
No, it's not. It's the truth. We've been celebrating Coach Tomlin. We've been celebrating Coach Tomlin for not having a losing season. That's what we've been doing the last 5 years. Oh, the Steelers are terrible. Big Ben goes down, or Watt goes down. Right? What are they going to do to salvage the season? Here comes Mike Tomlin. And now he gets them to 8-7 or blah, 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 blah. We've been celebrating mediocre play. Which I see you said it earlier that somebody else in the chat was like mid, like Danny Dimes is mid and Justin something is mid. Like that's what we're celebrating. So cool. You know what I'm saying? Like you haven't had a losing season yet, but Bill Belichick did the same thing. There's only a few coaches that's had these legendary runs, 13, 14, 15 years, never having a losing season. Bill Belichick did it, but they were winning 11 and 12 games a year, right? And so I'm saying that because it's how I feel going into this year, so it's not an overreaction, but I don't think the Steelers are okay. You know, and there's some people like, you know, all right, there's a lot of overreaction right now. It's week 1. The Steelers will be okay. What is okay? It's what we've been getting the last 5 or 6 years. I don't think they're going to be okay. We talked about this earlier, Liv. You know, there was one superstar or one person that stood out on that film to me, and that was Mr. Watt. Everybody else looked mid. That's what everybody else was mid, right? I love the wide receiver, but y'all got to put him in position to do some damage. The second one is the Cowboys are the best. Now, this is a tough one for me, Liv, because I picked the Cowboys to not win the Super Bowl, but to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I believe they will be in Las Vegas. I believe that this is the year. I'm not subscribing to the Dallas Cowboy commentary. I'm just looking at football. That's all I'm looking at. Dak Prescott wasn't here 20 years ago. You know, players walking in, you know, Parsons wasn't here 20-something years ago. Trayvon Diggs wasn't here 20-something years ago. That defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, he wasn't here 10 years ago, 7 years ago, 5 years ago. These guys got their own goals, their own plans, right? Jerry Jones is carrying that baggage, but not them, right? There might be some people in the building still carrying that's been there 20, 30 years, but them guys in the locker room, all they care about the here and now. The pressure really is on Dak Prescott. But, with all that being said, after this game, right, everybody's high. There's a lot of people high on the Cowboys. I'm high on the Cowboys. I'm not subscribing to, oh, my goodness, every year is the year, every year is the year. No, this is a really good team. Look at the roster. Look at the defense. Look at the wide receivers. You tell me this isn't a really good team, and then also we keep talking bad about Dak Prescott. Well, let's look at the first 9 years of his career and compare them to Ben Roethlisberger's first 9 years. Compare them to Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and I can go on and on and on. His numbers are better. The only stat line that isn't better, he hasn't won a Super Bowl. So that's what we can talk about and debate, but don't tell me he's not a good quarterback. I'm a wide receiver that had 17, 18 quarterbacks. Oh, you want to jump in there? You want to debate that, Liv? Is that what we want to do here?
Oh, no, I'm just listening.
Okay, that's why you put the hand on. I was like, oh, we want to go.
Well, no, I was going to say it just goes back to the Super Bowl conversation, which to me is obviously the end goal. So it's like, I like that you're a good quarterback, but honestly, I don't care if you're not winning a Super Bowl.
Okay, I hear you, but
he's
the alternative
good. He's not good enough.
So what's the alternative though? So look. Let's go into a quarterback purgatory. All right, you're not good enough, so we go trade for Trey Lance. All right, you go be like the Bucks. Okay, well Baker Mayfield's our solution. Like, what's the alternative?
No. Here's the alternative. You keep Dak Prescott and you keep having a football team that's okay with being great in the regular season and tanking in the playoffs when it matters most. And then guess what? You find America's new team. And we stop talking about it. And we stop talking about the Cowboys every year like it's their year.
Well, I think it's going to be hard to do that, Liv. I told you this already, sitting in the airport last night. I'm just sitting there just enjoying my glass of wine. I said, let me get a house cab. And freaking the ball snapped over the quarterback's head or whatever, the block field goal, and everybody screaming in the terminal. I'm like, oh, what were they screaming? Was they screaming for like the play? Because a lot of times we react to the play, or were they actually screaming for their team? And so then the next play happened, right? I think it was the interception or something, or a big play. I don't know what was the next big play. And everybody starts screaming. It's like, oh, these are Dallas Cowboys fans. So, Liv, it's going to be hard for us to say, they're not America's team. You know what they go back to? You know why they call it America's team? They go back to America's team because when we start broadcasting these games live, they were actually really good, and they were actually one of the teams that dominated the airwaves. So they have this huge fan base going back to the start of the NFL and broadcasting. And so now you're just passing on this tradition from generation to generation. Even Ashley, I can't wait for her to get back on the show. But Ashley, she didn't have an option. There was no option for Ashley to be a Jets fan or a Giants fan. Like, Mr. Jeff passed it to her. He said, no, out the womb, you are a Cowboys fan living in New York, right?
It's a very loyal. Listen, I've got a lot of respect because it's a very loyal. It's a very loyal fan base. I'm not going to knock them there. I'm just saying, I think part of the reason that we're always having the conversation of Dak not being good, it's not that Dak's not good, it's that Dak's not good enough. Because at the end of the day, fans want a Super Bowl.
Okay. Well, let me round out my top 3 overreactions for week 1. Now, again, this is just what I'm seeing on Twitter, what I'm seeing out there on the airwaves. Cowboys are the best. Got the Cowboys to represent the NFC, but let's slow down. Steelers are okay. Liv, I don't think they're okay. The Bucks are back. Now, I will say this. I was shocked, Liv. I was shocked that the Bucks outplayed the Minnesota Vikings, and you saw a very, very sad Justin Jefferson. How do you lose that? Isn't this the year? Like, if you're the Minnesota Vikings, aren't you sitting there like, yo, there's no Aaron Rodgers. Like, we got to go up against Jared Goff. We got to go up against who's balling. He's been balling, but man, he was thrown to the wolves. The LA Rams and McVay threw him to the wolves, but then him, And then you're like Justin Jefferson, which, I mean, not Justin Jefferson, but Justin Fields trying to figure him out. Like, you got Kirk Cousins. Isn't he supposed to be the best quarterback in the division?
No. Who said that?
I mean,
Not
Justin
me.
Fields, Jordan Love,
I'm a
Jared
Goff.
Goff. Yeah, but I mean, come on, like, Goff start playing well to what, the last 12 games going back into last year. But Jared Goff was thrown to the wolves. Like, there was a reason why McVay said, you know what, I want to move on. Now he got his career back on track, and he's probably going to get big bag, get paid. But Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff.
Yeah, no, the Vikings had a lot of self-inflicted wounds in that game. I mean, there were however you want to blame it on Kirk Cousins. I think there was more to it than that. But he had 2 fumbles in the first quarter and an interception all in the first half. Like, there were just way too many self-inflicted wounds, which is really alarming considering that they were up against a pretty new and, not overly competitive Bucks team from what I think we thought we would get.
Right.
But I also didn't think we would get Baker Mayfield in the form that we got him in. He was looking kind of nice. He was looking kind of nice. And I am not a Baker fan. I never was, not when he was at OU or beyond.
Did the Bucks find their quarterback? I'm trying to set you up for an overreaction right now. don't pay me no attention. He was looking kind of nice. Well, did they find their quarterback, Liv? Did they find their quarterback? Is that what you saying? Don't let me put words in your mouth.
I'm not gonna fill Baker's head up that big.
No
overreacting yet, but I'll tell you, I am very surprised at what we saw from Baker. I'm pleasantly surprised. It was exciting to see.
Can he have a Geno Smith moment, right? Like, that's real. Like, I'm a storyline guy. I'm gonna say this a lot. I've said it a lot already, but I love that type of stories. Like when, that underdog story, and you save those clips. Everybody doubted me. It's like Coco Gauff. Coco Gauff wins it. We didn't even talk about Coco Gauff. Like, we need to hit that. But she wins the U.S. Open. And what's the first thing she said? Thank you to all my haters. Thank you for everybody said I can't, right? Like, I love those stories. So Baker Mayfield could potentially have that Geno Smith moment. Geno Smith goes out there after what? Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football outing, and they said, my haters wrote me off, but I ain't right back. Baker Mayfield might have that same. Bars.
Somebody get that man an album. Bars.
That was big. All right. Well, that's Liv and Brandon's week 1 overreaction. Shout out to overreactions happening all across the airwaves. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat, the Paper Chasers. Christy O, I see you. Trey Biz, we see you. Liv, we got some people that's been with us from day one and come back every single day. Right?
I love that.
Every single day. So shout out to y'all. Really appreciate you guys building this platform with us. I wanna land the plane. Oh, Liv, now you're gonna say I got bars. I wanna land the plane.
I know where you're headed with this, and that was a bar.
That was a bar, right? I wanna land
that was a bar. That was sneaky bar. That was a sneaky bar.
Right, because you got the Jets playing tonight. Buffalo. And so I want to get into some predictions. I want to get into betting, right? Where you walk us through, like, a parlay or two, how we can make some money with you. Some people may fade you. Some people may. What is it called when they don't fade you?
Tail.
What is it called?
Tail.
Tail. So tail means like we just tail your bet?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, but let's get into it, Liv. Monday Night Football. You got the Bills versus the Jets.
I'm going to tell you, I don't know if this is probably an unpopular opinion for most people, but I smell some regression for the Bills this season. I really do. I think that there was obviously a lot of excitement around, bringing back Von Miller. That's now put into question from a defensive perspective. And listen, we kind of a lot of people are wanting to glide over all the Diggs stuff because he has gone to Twitter and attempted to debunk whatever's been going on. But I think it's worth noting that him not showing up to a camp or whatever it was meant something. So something clearly occurred. And I actually hope for the Bills' sake that there's nothing going on there and that Diggs wants to be in Buffalo and he wants to be a Bill, and him and Josh Allen still have that chemistry and connection throughout the season. But the Bills have a really, really tough schedule ahead. Yep. And they're facing Chiefs, Chargers, and Eagles all on the road this year. and their division got a whole lot tougher, and they're starting their season off with a team that nobody really knows a whole lot about, okay? This is kind of sneaky. It's kind of how I felt as a TCU Horned Frog fan with the Buffs. It's like, it's a new team. You've got a new quarterback that is exceptionally talented. We don't know what we're going to get. It could be a flop or it could be a massive success. And I'm here to tell you, I would not want to be on the other side of the ball with Aaron Rodgers in a debut at home as an underdog. Are you kidding me?
He's been doing all the right things.
We really think that Aaron at home, it is actually very difficult. Well, I shouldn't say that, but in the betting world, it means a lot to be a home underdog. To have that home field advantage in a primetime game, in a debut spot, in a divisional matchup, and to be the underdog. I'm sorry. I think we're entering scary hours, and I am not a humongous Aaron Rodgers fan, but I'm telling you, I think that the largest difference between Aaron Rodgers from last season to this season was an attitude change because he enjoys his environment more, which I think is going to elevate his game immediately overnight. And I think he's surrounded by a much more solid defense, which is going to help this team be successful. I just think that the defense that the Jets have, they're going to swallow up Josh Allen. So I'm already liking Josh Allen over on rushing yards. And if you like him over on rushing yards, you can bet your bottom dollar.
I need to take notes. I need to take notes. I'm listening to you.
Take notes. So I like Josh Allen to feel some pressure from that defense that I think everyone's really high on this season with the Jets. He's going to be rushing. He's going to be running for his life like he does most games anyways. I also think he may be a little timid with his arm. He's coming off of a season where he was turning the ball over quite a bit, and it became detrimental for this Bills team.
Right.
So I think from an offensive perspective, he's probably going to use his legs a little bit more. So I like him over on rushing yards. So much so that I like him to run it into the end zone. I like him as an anytime touchdown scorer. I think that is honestly one of my favorite bets moving into this night is that Josh Allen is going to try to take control of the game like he always does, and he's going to do so by running it in himself. So I like rushing yards and an anytime touchdown. I also like the under in this game. Historically, we see low-scoring primetime games. As much as we hate them, we want to see points. Unless you're blowing a team out by 40 points, they're typically pretty low-scoring. Honestly, the under might have hit last night. I don't even know what the line was. The under might have hit because the Giants didn't do diddly squat out there.
Now, is this your parlay? Are you going through some of the intriguing bets, or is this your 4-leg parlay?
So I'm walking through my parlay, but the reason I'm doing them individually is because that's what's tricky about a parlay. Sometimes it's better to just take one or two as straight bets, which I highly encourage to anyone who's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I really love that. You can take them all as straight bets. You could go to any sports book right now and say, I'm going to put 10 on Josh Allen rushing. I'm going to put 10 on Josh Allen anytime touchdown. I'm going to put 10 on the under. And I'm going to put 10 on Jets money line because that is the final leg of my parlay. We're going Jets to win. Come on, Brandon. I've seen you high on the Jets and on Aaron Rodgers. There's no way you see him losing this game. Yeah. There's no way.
First off, great job. Literally, I'm taking notes. Earlier in the show, we talked about just the approach to betting and, different terms. And so, I've learned some stuff from you. I've made some big bets, but I'm not in the betting world like that. You know what I mean? I'm not an expert, so I'm learning just like a lot of people. This is at the forefront of our sports culture is betting now these last 5 years. If we can throw that back up there, so I am learning. So shout out to you. Appreciate you there. Let me look at this parlay. The New York Jets on the money line. I think that's solid. I agree with you there. It's hard. It's hard to envision the Jets not getting it done. Defensively, there's some guys internally saying, we're trying to go down as one of the greatest defenses ever, not just, a top 5 defense or the best defense this year. They have that type of mindset. And that's good because if they fall short, they're still great. We saw what they did last year. And Aaron Rodgers, he just brings the juice to the whole building. He's making everyone better. It's similar to what Tom Brady did when he got to the Bucs, right? The Bucs were horrible. Tom Brady comes in and wins the Super Bowl right away. The under, total match points. I do see
that one
this.
scares you, huh?
No. It doesn't scare me. This is actually this is a solid bet. I might take this. Hell, I might take this as a single bet and bet a big bag on this, right? But I heard what you said earlier, Brandon. Don't chase. Have a plan. Budget. But this is one of those ones. Like if I am feeling a little spicy and I want to gamble a little bit, I'll gamble here because I'm not expecting Aaron Rodgers to be the Aaron Rodgers that we saw his entire career, the back-to-back MVP, just 1 year removed from, back-to-back MVP years.
Right.
Why? Because he has a top 5 defense. He has a defense that can go down in history. You don't need to do that. We're talking about complimentary football. I got Aaron Rodgers, my offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. I got my head coach all in the room. And what we're saying is, guys, this is how we're going to play football this year. This is our brand of ball. We got a freaking phenomenal defense. They're going to make it easier on all of us. Don't mess it up. So the running game needs to show up, right? And we'll take our shots. We'll get our playmakers involved. So I actually see, the Aaron Rodgers offense being more balanced than we've ever seen from an Aaron Rodgers-led offense, okay? And then on the Buffalo Bills side, like you said, Josh Allen's going against this defense. So I like that one. And the third one, and we can throw that back up really quickly. What do we have? Josh Allen, anytime touchdown scorer. I love that. Yeah, of course. They're going to find a way. They're not going to. He's not going to Danny Dimes or Danny Pennies us tonight. Where
he better not.
They can't put together one drive. Hell, they may put together 2 or 3, maybe even 4 drives. And then we're going to see him do something, dive over the goal line, run somebody over. We'll definitely see that. And Josh Allen on the over, absolutely. Very good, Liv. I see why you hurt. That's a good parlay. How much?
Well, you know what? That Steelers money line was a slice of humble pie, so I'm just trying to make up for being embarrassed yesterday.
So how many units are you putting down? See, I learned that too.
You know what? With value where it's at, I mean, I think this is floating in the plus 2,000, and maybe some change there in terms of odds. So you put $10 down, you're walking with 200. So you only lose 10, but you could gain $200. Now,
off of this parlay?
If you wanted to put down 100, you'd walk with 2,000, little over 2,000. So again, it kind of depends on what your budget is, but if you want to play it safe, because first Monday Night Football game, you don't want to go too crazy too quick, and you've got $10 to spare. 10 could win you 200. So
I love it.
Good value.
I love it. All right, Liv. Final thoughts from this weekend and week 1, which is still going on, right? We still have another game, but final thoughts. What was the one thing that was just like, wow, football's back?
Football is back. Well, I'll tell you something that we didn't touch on a little bit today that I was very, very impressed with was some of the rookies that showed up. I think that Anthony Richardson had a very promising start. I hope that his injury isn't super serious, but he had the most total yards out of any rookie QB that debuted yesterday. So loved what we saw from him. Bijan Robinson's first touchdown is a highlight. I mean, he's a monster. So I'm excited about him.
He had 56 yards though.
Yeah, but he's on the right team, man, because that was the best run offense last season, and he fits perfectly into that equation. And he actually had the most targets from Desmond Ridder. He caught every single one.
Right.
So I like what I see from him early. I think he's going to be dominant. And then defensively, Houston Texans defense, Will Anderson was doing some record-breaking things yesterday. So the rookies showed up, which to me, always exciting because it means that the future is going to continue to be bright in the NFL, and who doesn't love that?
Right. So listen, I'm looking at the scoreboard here, NFL scoreboard, and look, I'm excited about tonight, right?
Yep.
Obviously the Jets, high hopes for the Jets. I love how they're embracing the opportunity. It's not, look, we got Aaron Rodgers. Like, no, we got Aaron Rodgers with – a phenomenal coaching staff, with a phenomenal defense, with some phenomenal pieces. Let's go win the Super Bowl, and let's do it in high fashion. The Lions were impressive, okay? The Cleveland Browns, right? The Cleveland Browns did exactly what I thought they would do, is win. I didn't think that they would upset. Not upset. I didn't think they would beat the Bengals the way they did, Liv. Not holding Joe Burrow to under 100 yards passing. But I was high on them because they could potentially be, the Jaguars from last year, the Detroit Lions from last year. Like, this is going to be an interesting division. You got to pay attention. The Baltimore Ravens. You got Mike Tomlin. Hey, Mike T. Yay! We 500. Like, what? We got to stop this. But then you have the Cincinnati Bengals. I know they lost, but still, you got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Like you're going to be in position. It's going to be a
fun year, man.
It's going to be a fun year. It's going to be a fun year. Baker Mayfield. Can Baker Mayfield have his moment? So football is back. We'll be back tomorrow. Liv, we got to get you back here this weekend or next weekend. Next week, excuse me. But we love having you on. You got to just teach us more of this betting stuff.
I got you. I can do that.
I'm trying to actually hit on 67% of my 70% of my bets. Can you help me hit on 70% of my bets this year?
As long as the Steelers aren't involved, maybe.
There you go. Well, there you go. That's Liv, myself, today on Paper Route, presented by I Am Athlete. We'll recap Monday Night Football tomorrow. Ashley will be back, so I'm sure we're going to hit the Cowboys again and hear her. I don't know if she's going to wear her jerseys tomorrow, but we will see. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Love y'all. Paper Chasers.